Hey, there we are.
All right.
How are you guys doing again? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Reptile Hangouts podcast. It's me, Charles, Nick over here,
Sir.
Gabe over there,
Gabriel.
Bill over there. I don't understand the computer thing.
How
We're
do you-
never going
It's weird. Man. I'm usually down here.
This is now part of the podcast. We don't know where we're at. Anyway, I just want to thank you guys so much for joining in. If you've seen the thumbnail, if you've seen the post, you've seen the title of the video, you know what's going on tonight. But first, we got to talk about
US ARK. We always plug the US ARK. We love the US ARK, United States Association of Reptile Keepers. They're the only organization in this country fighting for our rights to be able to keep these animals that we love. Always coming through the legislation, looking for the laws that are trying to prohibit us from keeping these animals. So definitely do show your support for US ARK. You can visit them, usark.org. There's a link in our description. Do consider becoming a member. It's not very expensive, and you can help support the cause. So it's your dues for being a reptile keeper.
Definitely for sure. So now it's time for the little quick weekly update. Gabe, we've missed you last week. So anything going on with you?
Man, I'm trying to think. Not really. I got a cool stick bug. This is not a stick bug.
It's not a stick bug. It's a leaf.
Leaf.
Oh, you get one of the ones from you.
But I got that yesterday. But other than that, no, man. The last thing I got was that beautiful gecko they saw a couple weeks back.
Nice. Good stuff. So not much is going on around here either, really. Since last week, you can see we're next
Together
to each
this
other.
week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Got a nice visit from my brother, so it's always fun. So how did we comment hi to us? Interesting. Hi,
No
us.
idea.
Hello.
Gecko Galaxy just
Yeah,
saying
I
hello.
was curious.
We're Gecko Galaxy.
Hi,
we
guys.
didn't type it. I don't know.
Time travel. Anyway, but yeah, so a nice little visit. So that's awesome. Getting some family time in and whatnot. Not too much new on the animal front, really.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of new stuff going on at home, but I am going to be pairing up geckos shortly after I
I
return
know.
at the end of the weekend. So we'll be starting our 2022 breeding season.
Expect a short on that, by the way.
Still dealing with our cresty pairs. Hopefully, at least one new pair this year, and doing a small number of gargoyles as well. And yeah, I've got my Chahoua, my
It's your
pineapple.
wife.
I see that now. Yeah, my wife is commenting using our name. Interesting. We have a pair of Pine Island Chahuas. We love them to death. They are still growing up, so next year hopefully we'll be doing that. Just a little fun note. It's also animal related. Technically, I left the state of West Virginia at 5:00 this morning, and about 3 minutes into my drive, I hit a giant deer with my car.
Didn't hurt the deer.
Yeah, the deer was totally fine. She did like a backflip and she just took off. And honestly, I got really lucky. I got a big dent in my hood, and it's all kind of out of whack, but it still functions. And my headlights like completely shattered. But old mechanic over here is going to hook me up tomorrow, fix my headlight for me. The car runs fine. I drove all the way here, 5.5-hour drive, no worries. So yeah,
sweet.
That's what's going on.
All right.
It's been an interesting day.
Yes, it has. I can say the same thing.
All right. Well, without further ado, introduce our very special guest of the evening, Mr. Bryan Suson. How you doing tonight, Bryan?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Of
Awesome.
Sundown Reptiles.
Did I not say that?
You didn't say that.
Fuck me. I'm not good at this hosting, guys. You should find somebody else. Really. It's not.
No, you're the best. You're the best. Yeah.
You're doing great.
Oh,
It's on the name. It's on the name.
Recommended from last week's guests, Gabby and Brett of Morph Menagerie, a good friend of theirs, and also sort of a reptile giant. I've come to figure out by browsing his social media and website. You do some really good stuff, man.
Yeah, thank you. That was super kind of Brett and Gabby to throw that out there, and yeah, it's good to be here. And
yeah, we appreciate it. Looking for great people to have on, and yeah, this made it really easy for us to be able to make a couple new contacts. So we're delighted that you're here. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
what would you argue is your main focus coming into the 22 season?
That's a good question. I'm pretty spread out. I've kind of diversified my collection. I started, believe it or not, originally when I was a kid, I kind of started out with geckos, and I had kind of morphed and gone into green tree pythons real heavily, and it kind of split back and kind of not. I have some of those now, but it's not my main focus. So now I'm so kind of diversified. I'm definitely gecko heavy. So a lot of the new Caledonian species. But there's a lot of projects going for the season for sure. And, for me, it keeps it interesting. I do work with, it always starts as a hobby, right? And it's kind of elevated at this point to, it's like, oh, this could be a little side thing for me. And now it's kind of become my main business. So I feel like if you're going to do that and you're going to have that approach, it helps to be diversified. And so, with projects and breeding projects now, there's a lot that's going. So it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting, but kind of see where the season goes. But there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Go ahead. We do that all the time. Just go ahead and say it.
Oh,
even
man.
when we're not sitting 2 feet from each other.
Right, yeah, right. Browsing your socials, gotta say, love the monitors.
So say that again.
I love your monitors.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what you always been? Well, you started with Gecko, so what? And then you went into Python. How do the monitors come into the picture?
The monitors were something that I kind of always wanted to get into. The yellow tree monitors in particular really kind of caught me. And so, I came across just an opportunity to get some captive bred animals with them. And it's historically been a hard thing to come by. There's a lot of imported animals that have been coming in, and you know how it is with imports. It's very tricky. You don't know if you're getting a healthy animal. Some of the sources that they come in from might not always be the best. So when I had an opportunity to kind of snag a group of true captive bred blues, and then I found this pair of yellows that were also captive bred that came out of Europe, it was just like a no-brainer for me. I've got.
You have to do that.
Yeah, and I have the space for it now. Space is such a limitation for us. I mean, we all know that, right?
Mm-hmm. It's the limitation.
Things that we want to work with and expand projects and hold animals back every season. And then it gets to the point where you're like, man, okay, what am I going to do? And so I kind of made an opportunity where I have some space now. And so I'm like, now's the time. If I'm going to do tree monitors, this is the time to do it. So yeah, I love them. Yeah.
And with the whole space thing, do you keep out of your home? Do you have a
yeah, so that was a goal of mine, was to get the animals out of the house, just because, being gecko keepers, we know how bad crickets are.
Yeah.
Crickets are never fun. We all experience a great cricket escape of every year of some fashion. And I feel like, so the short of it is now I have a building that is separate from the house that I keep everything in, that's just dedicated to the animals. So
man, that's awesome.
Any pets at the house, or
I've got a dog. Yeah, I've got a dog now that she's been with me for 11 years. So
nice.
Yeah, it's the only one now in the house. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I imagine it is. That's definitely something I've always thought about too. Is being even if it's just on my property, a separate building, something that's all controlled, and it would be awesome.
Besides my struggle to keep crickets alive, other than that, moving to primarily dubias as a food source has been really quiet and nice.
Yeah, it's good if you have animals that eat them.
That's true.
Certain species I find don't like them as much as crickets, but it's good to have some sort of like self-sufficiency with crickets, especially as we come into the cold months and are dealing with winter storms and, oh man, I'm out of crickets. I got to order some, if that order arrives,
that order comes in dead,
you're in trouble. So dubia is a good way to go for sure.
Yeah.
Do you do you breed your own food? You know, crickets, roaches, whatever you may feed.
Crickets, I don't. I stay away from that. I do breed some dubia as well. So dubia is really the only thing that I'm producing food wise. But one thing that kind of goes into the food as far as like that I've been getting big into the past couple of years has just been gardening and composting all of my waste that comes from the collection goes out to build soil, which then I use to produce crops that I then feed to crickets and the roaches.
That's cool, man.
It was awesome because lots of times
it was really cool.
Yeah, you worry when you go to the grocery store and you're trying to buy a really good gut load, and you're afraid if it has some sort of pesticide that can jack up. Go to your crickets or dubia and then go into your prized collection. So that's something that I've been, obviously I haven't been doing it year round. I don't have a greenhouse yet, but it's been good in the warmer months. So
that's pretty awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
that's something that I'll actually consider. We were hoping to start a garden this year. Now we're going to end up having to move homes, but so we're not going to be able to do that. But at this house, but that's actually a goal for me. I want to start a garden so I can use it to feed my animals, basically.
It's a good way to go.
Because I have tortoises and stuff like that, and my tegus eat a lot of the vegetation and stuff like that. So trying to buy that stuff all the time, I do worry about that. That is something that I do worry about. So.
If you're growing enough of it, spring through fall, you can be pretty good. And depending on where you live too, you can even set up, some smaller hoop houses and grow kale and collards and stuff like that. I don't know exactly what you're feeding your tortoise, but you can grow a lot of the leafy greens, almost year round if you set them up right. So.
Yeah, I know they're pretty cold tolerant.
Yeah, definitely kale for sure.
That's awesome.
So being that, you're talking about this is like your main thing right now with the animals and everything as far as income and stuff like that. What's like a day look for you? Do you kind of like schedule yourself?
Yeah.
Or
it's tricky. It's you got to be very self-motivated, and you've got to have hobbies and activities. Otherwise, you'll kind of feel the burn, especially when you're going into like, a lot of us, I feel like, keep animals in our basement. Nobody wants to be in their basement all day, right?
No, it's crazy because, you're doing this for a living, so it's your main business, right? So, at some point, you got to admit, maybe it's not fun, huh? Not as much fun, having to do it all the time.
No, at the end of the day, yeah, I think at the end of the day, you look at it and it's like you're living the Jurassic Park life. You're producing stuff that you originally were like, you're obviously interested in and you have a passion for, and you're lucky enough that you get to do it for a living. And not a lot of people can say that. And when I do feel the burn and I'm kind of feeling a burnout, you got to kind of smack yourself and remind yourself that like you're doing it. And it could be a lot different situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a lot of people that have that dream, of basically doing their hobby full time, me, for example, and him, for example, that's hopefully one day, so it's pretty cool to see somebody who's actually gotten there.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Definitely is. And I hear you on that, man. I don't even have a big collection by Gecko people standards. I'll say Gecko people standards because I talk to a lot of Gecko people, and they'll be like, "Oh, you must have a lot of geckos." I'm like, "I don't know, I got like 45 or something like that." And they're like, "45? I got 400 at home." And I'm like, "Okay, well, yeah, I don't know your pain yet, but I do get burnt out sometimes."
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's tough to see that coming too, because it's like you're acquiring this collection and you're like, okay, I'm getting these, and when you're acquiring animals, you usually have that as like those are set up to be your breeding stock. And lots of times it can be tricky to like see down the line, like, okay, so I have all these pairings, I have all these females, like what is going to be the potential production that I can get from all these? And like, are you prepared for it? Because you know, you may need an employee or two, you know, if you want to have a life. Like,
yeah, when you start getting to that, I mean, I've met people at reptile shows that aren't even really like, they don't do shows, they don't like breed and sell, they're like, you know, hobby breeders. They tell me they have like 200 or 300 geckos, and I'm like,
dude, I couldn't imagine.
Wow, I only have like 40 some odd geckos, and I try to sell almost everything I produce and just hold back the best ones, you know.
Yeah, it starts like that. And you just keep going, keep starting.
Yeah, I've already decided I'm just keeping all our geckos until they get big enough, so I can pick what I want.
That's the way to do it, because I think a lot of people too will
sell too early.
They do sell too early. You know, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah,
you end up seeing stuff that you let go, and you're like, wow, why did
Yep.
Dude, I have this gargoyle gecko, man. That, I mean, someone sold too early. Okay, I'm telling you, man, someone sold him too early. This gecko, when I got him, I mean, he was all right, you know, but I mean, it's just
we're talking about Hellboy, right?
Yeah, Hellboy for sure.
He looks like, I mean, he literally
looks like lava.
He looks like he's on fire. He's cool. Yeah.
I feel like gargs are the biggest, like, I don't know, like people fall into the trap the most with gargs. I think that people don't realize
how much they change.
Pattern and coloration can spread with a garg. So yeah, well, good for you for getting a good one. Had a good
heck yeah, man. I got lucky.
He gets good ones at good prices all the time. Is people just seek him out and they're like, "Hey, man, would you like these 6 crested geckos and 6 vivariums for $20, buddy? Would you like that?"
Nice.
It happens. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Nice.
But what type of New Caledonian species do you work with? Do you work with?
So probably the species that I'm probably most known for and have my best, like my focus on is the I have to say it proper at least one time, is the Naira gecko Chahoua, right? As everybody calls Chahoua or Chewies. But that's probably the species that I'm most focused on. But I also work with the Leachianus and Gargs. Gargs is probably a second for me, and I've got some of the greater trackies.
You do.
And I do have a small little collection of cresteds. I saw all the crested geckos that have been coming out the past couple of years. I was working with them years back, and then kind of stepped out from them, and then I just saw how they're just too cool to not have some. So I've got a small handful of pairs of cresteds, and that's how it's going to stay for me, just because I have that focus in the other areas. But yeah, and I have some Eurodactylotes as well.
Very cool.
And that's
Velarde or
the Velarde. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a species that I would love to work with here soon. That's something I plan on adding.
Yeah, they're cool little guys.
Yeah, they really are. I think they're definitely species that should get a little more attention.
Mm-hmm.
They're cool little lizards, man.
They're coming up in the world for sure.
They definitely have.
Somebody got a steal from AJ last night on a pair in the auction. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but man,
AJ and Gabby and Brett, they've been putting out some Uris, and people have been capitalizing on it as they should. So they've been doing is a great opportunity.
That's something I'll definitely have to check that out. The next time we have
check out their auction channel, man. There's some good opportunities there to scoop up some really nice geckos if you can.
Yeah, great opportunities to get Uris. I feel like some of the best shots you have at getting them would be through them. So I'd keep an eye on their auctions.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Cool. So I gotta say, I didn't know you were working with the trackies. Those things are so darn cool, man. I just don't see very much going on with them. Do you just have a couple of pairs, or?
I have 2.3. 2 of the pairs are together. This was kind of the first year to get them paired up.
Okay.
I have one female that, you know, I had hopes of getting her in with one of the other pairs and, you know, maybe doing a trio, and they just are not having it. They're not having it. It seems to be that, you know, we hear a lot about pair compatibility with different species of New Caledonian geckos, and the trackies, it's a different beast. Yeah, they're like, you know, so I mean, whatever.
Horror stories about lychees, you know, having trouble when you try to pair them. They're just as bad, if not worse, huh?
Yeah, the lychees and the, you know, gosh, they're, yeah, I mean, they'll rip each other's face off, and, you know, with the Chahoua as well. So
yeah, it's a worry.
I cannot imagine putting 2 lychees together and tearing themselves up. I wouldn't know what to do.
yeah, the worst I've seen has been with, you know, with the Chahoua. So
Really?
yeah, I mean,
Scaring me, man. You're scared.
yeah, I mean, you'll have a chunk of, you know, you can see the skull.
God.
You know, my friends, the Gilpins, just sent a photo the other night of a female that had her nose. I mean, it would be like if you imagine the snout of a gecko, right? And you were to like cut an L out of it. So it would be like comes down and then goes straight to the snout. Like almost took her nose off. So
someone's gonna have to start 3D printing some helmets for them or something.
I think that's your niche. You think you need to get on that.
Yeah, damn right, man. That's great.
No, I mean, luckily I think the regenerative properties of these geckos is so incredible. I mean, after seeing what some of those animals have done to each other just in my collection, I mean, most people would look at it and freak and be like, oh my God, I need to get this animal to the vet like now. And, you know, if you have some Sylvadine cream or just even leaving them be and keeping them in a clean enclosure, months go by and it just everything comes.
It's resilient. They're resilient.
Insane. And you don't see that with other reptiles. Like it's incredible.
Yeah.
Huh.
So just to satisfy my curiosity, I don't know a ton about the trackies. I've seen lots of pictures. I've always thought that they were really cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I know that there's a New Caledonian endemic that is a live bearer. Is that them? Do they do that? Or is that a different one?
Yeah, so you'll have the lesser and the greater trackies.
Okay.
Both of them are live bearing. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do they do
produce them? I have not, you know, I'm relatively new to the species.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, this is kind of my first year pairing them and seeing how it goes. But
yeah. So I'm sure you've done your research. So they lay, most of your New Caledonians will lay a couple of eggs at a time. Do they have a couple of babies at a time, or
I mean, it's super low production. I mean, from what I heard, like, you know, if you get 2 babies a year, you're doing all right.
Oh wow,
that's pretty good, eh? Definitely keep us updated on that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be watching it. You said you like to start sharing stuff once you started to produce it. I know when I spoke to you, so maybe we'll see some stuff from you sooner rather than later if things work out.
Hopefully, we'll see. They're a cool side project. It's just like, you know, again, it's nice to have stuff to mix it up.
Yeah.
So what's the project, man? What's that one project that you got going on right now that you're like so excited about? You just can't help yourself, you know?
I feel like that was this past year for me. But this year, I mean, there's a lot of really good, some really nice lychee pairs, a lot of really good guard pairs, and then, you know, on the whole chewy front, there's a lot going. I've got a lot of stuff, a lot of pairs that, you know, are producing what I'm calling, you know, I've been terming these animals that have, you know, 50% of their body or more covered in white as super whites. There's no, you know, there's no genetic info behind it that I can be like, oh yeah, you cross this to this. It's just kind of a term to help classify, you know, it's kind of getting sloppy out there when people are saying like, oh yeah, this is a high white. It's like, how do you kind of define that? So I have some of these super white pairings that are going, super whites that I had produced that are now paired up, and that stuff, you know, where that whole world is going, you know, on the chewy front is going to be interesting. You know, there's a lot of there's a handful of really good breeders out there who are producing some high quality stuff, and just kind of where the envelope is getting pushed is it's exciting. So I'm excited to see where those go, because, you know, yeah, and we're almost there. We're pretty close to being there. I mean, I have an animal in the collection that's almost pure white, and so from there, where do you go? You know, then it's like, are you getting a full white animal that has, you know, speckles of different color on it, or
invisible? Is that too much to ask for?
Transparent.
Some kind of camouflage ability? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, man, dude, if anything in camouflage, it's definitely one of those.
Yeah.
I don't know about a white one, but hey, it's got to be an amazing looking animal, man.
So some of those projects I'm really pumped about, and so that'll be cool to see where that goes. And so. Monitors were the big one that I needed to crack last year with the tree monitors, and I got that. That was like my first year of producing them, and so this year it's kind of just like what happens, and it's going to be a good season either way.
So you've actually produced tree monitors. I knew you had some. I didn't know you actually had produced them. That's badass, man. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. We got I produced 40 or 39 of the blues and yellows this past year.
Wow.
So,
that's a good year.
Some good numbers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
That's pretty awesome.
So the spiny tails, you know, the Australian spiny tail geckos.
Oh yeah,
of course. I've got some really nice pairings going to them this year as well. So that's that'll be.
So are you just working with the Strophurus ciliatus, or?
Yeah. So the ciliaris is the only species that I'm working with. There's, I mean, the whole genus is incredible. There's so many species in there. Ciliaris are big. They've got more color variation. Like for me, I tend to go towards, the exception of the tree monitors, towards species that have variation. Like, you know, if you have any sort of polymorphism, I'm drawn to it.
Right.
So the new cows are obviously a no-brainer for that. Ciliaris are in that ballpark too. I mean, you can get high black, high orange, yellow, spotted. There's just, I feel like we're kind of scratching the surface with them too. So
yeah, I mean, I've really only just sort of started to see a lot of things in the last couple of years with people posting, you know, them for sale here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they looks like they're starting to become more popular, because you're starting to see a lot of pictures flying around, man. They're beautiful.
Yeah. It's, how do you not like them? You know, they've got eye spines, they've got tail spines. It's like they're like a little dragon.
Yeah, it's like a little dragon, but I mean, how big are they?
Yeah, I mean, snout to tip of tail. I mean, it's so hard to tell. You know, they're very thin geckos. Yeah, you know, you're looking at like a big female would be 14 grams.
Okay.
That's a decent size, like breeding female. They can get a little bigger. I think, you know, I've seen some folks who had some females can bulk up, which you actually, in my opinion, you don't really want to do to them. You want to keep them kind of thin. They just seem to breed better if you kind of monitor their food intake, because they'll just keep pounding food. But if you give them too much too, they can also regurgitate. So that's the only way that I feel that they're slightly finicky, is you want to keep an eye on prey size and the amount that you're giving them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of times, I mean, not just with that species, but a lot of species, you know, overfeeding can be, you know, a thing, you know, like it actually like works backwards against you. So it doesn't really help.
But it's interesting too, because once they're laying, once you have a female that's laying eggs, then you really can't feed them enough. So it's like, once they get into that lay cycle, you got to keep the food pumping. So
they just lose condition really fast, I guess.
They produce a lot. You know, they produce kind of more similar, like close to what like a crested gecko could produce.
Right.
But
every 30 days or so, you're getting a clutch of eggs.
You're getting a clutch every 30 days, sometimes less than that.
Right.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that's pretty cool. And are you? I've seen, and I've watched some videos of people finding these guys in the wild, and they seem to, be sort of arboreal in a sense, where they are in the brush. So, hey, there goes Gabe's lights.
Sorry,
Creeper.
He's got them on a timer. They go off 30 minutes into the episode every time.
I can do.
Every time.
It's a quirk of the show, man.
Yeah, his computer will be going off upstairs.
It's wrong.
He's usually up in the reptile room.
Yeah, I can hear my
Yeah. There he is. So,
Yeah.
keeping these guys.
I'm sure the animals were like, "What the?"
Yeah. Now it's daytime again. Damn.
Are your lights on a timer in there?
Yeah. Everything's off. I try not to do as much as possible.
Okay, so it's off. Is it off or on right now? I'm seeing. Is that?
I just turn them back on. So,
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm after is
the LED lights on.
Sorry, Nick. What was that?
Oh no, it's okay. It's all right. This is
Gabe's
the
been
way,
interrupting us for 20 years.
this is the way these things go.
Hey man, I try to keep it fun, bro.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it's all good.
Good. Keep it light.
I guess I'm mostly asking about the husbandry, really. How are you keeping these guys? I see a lot of pictures of them in these little Spinifex brushes and stuff like that when people find them actually, in situ in the wild.
Mhm.
And I wonder, what's the husbandry like? Are they able to be kept in systems, or do you have them in, fully decked out Vivaria or what?
Mm-hmm. So, a juvenile, I'll set up kind of like in a critter keeper. Actually, I just did my first care series of for the species that I keep on them. So if anybody is interested in getting the full breakdown on how I keep Ciliaris, definitely check that out on my YouTube channel. I just put it out. But as a quick breakdown to answer your question, I kind of do steps like we all do. As far as when I get a hatchling, I almost put them in these small little Tupperware containers, snap-on lids that I puncture holes in and just do a basic X of sticks in there. Just 2 sticks crossed over for them to perch on heat tape. Once I get them through their first shed, because sometimes, they'll come out and they can be prone if you don't have the humidity or the conditions set up after they hatch. I've noticed, at least here in my, climate or how I have everything set up, is that, you want to make sure they get through that first shed. It's not a no-brainer with any of the new Caledonian stuff where it's it hatched, you put it in the, in the rack and it's going to shed.
Yeah.
Guys,
Never not had it.
Yeah, slightly more delicate. So once I know they've shed, then I'll put them into just a small critter keeper. And at that point, I'm running UV over the top, 10.0. You keep them hot. They like it, like a basking spot in the 90s, up in the low hundreds even. But as long as they can get away from that, I don't really do that with the juveniles. But as an adult, I do move them into 12 by 18 exo. Little puck light with halogen for heat, UV over the top. And you just give them branches. And one of the cool things about that species is that you will see them during the day. So they'll be out hunting in the open. And as per what you were saying, if people seeing them in the wild.
That was other light. Sorry.
Well, you're good.
Right. So that's what I would guess that, obviously we've talked about this in many of our episodes, the hobby is moving towards giving UV to things that we didn't traditionally give UV to, but I would guess that since they are daytime, sometimes baskers, that's extra important for them to have that 10.0.
Yeah, that's the mentality with them, just because, where you're finding them out in the wild, it's not like they're in some understory, and they can be up in the Northern Territory of Australia. They've got a pretty big range. They'll go from the Northern Territory all the way down into Central Australia, and you can find them in a variety of habitats.
Gotcha.
And so bottom line is, yes, you will see them basking out in full sun at times of the day in Australia. So one would think, okay, these animals are definitely getting a lot of UV.
Yes.
I mean,
It's different than some species that's like living in the understory in a thick canopy where sunlight's really not getting through that much.
Right. Yeah, you might do like a shade dweller or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I've really only ever seen like pictures of them and thought, wow, these are really cool, and like looked up the scientific name. I had no idea what their husbandry was like, what their actual ecology was like. So that's really cool to know that they're sort of active during the day, because I always just sort of thought, most geckos, aside from
Yeah.
so to
I
speak.
wouldn't say active during the day, but visible during the day.
Sure.
And if you do throw crickets in there, they will become active during the day for sure.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. But they're cool species. They're probably one of my, I mean, it's tough to pick favorites, but
Yeah.
when I had stepped away, I was doing a lot of travel and I was leading eco tours, and it was to the point where I couldn't really keep geckos. I couldn't keep high maintenance species. I had people taking care of my green trees back in the day when I was going off, and I'd do a lot of trips down to Ecuador and would be guiding down there.
Okay.
And when I decided that I was like, okay, I'm going to be back more, Strophurus ciliaris was one of those species that I wanted to get into first. It was just one that it drew me in, and I always wanted to work with. So, I mean, it's you can't really see. It's on the wrong side. I'm trying to get on here. The logo. I mean, I love it so much. It is my. I'm not even gonna try.
They are really
like left is right on the screen when I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
We do this all the time.
It's a staple. Oh, it's a staple here.
Yeah.
We don't point at each other.
I love the species so much that it's my logo. So
Awesome.
Right, man.
Well, I don't want to dominate, but I have to ask, now that you've mentioned that, I didn't know, about you, that you did a lot of traveling. So I imagine, being that this is the stuff you love, you did a lot of herping overseas in different places.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that's something that I've had a small opportunity to do a little bit of, but I would love nothing more than to do more of it. How many different places have you been?
I've spent a lot of time down in South America and Ecuador. Kind of after college, I went down there and wanted to see if I was going to pursue the career path of tropical biology. And I had my mentor in college had connections down there, so I went down, fell in love, kept going back, ended up working at some of the lodges down in the Amazon, and then started up my own business that was taking school groups, people here, herpers, birders, and taking them down and kind of getting them into different ecosystems and showing them the wildlife. So a lot of my focus was in Latin America, specifically Ecuador, but I've been able to do some herping in South Africa, Australia, Costa Rica, Panama, Bolivia.
Man, you come across any emerald tree boas?
Pardon me?
Come across any emerald tree boas? That's one I want to see myself, man.
I've got a story, a sob story about an emerald tree boa.
Oh,
but
man.
the answer
It's always a sob story when it comes to
no. The answer is no. But it was a group that I was guiding down at this biostation in the Amazon. I can't complain too much because one night prior, I got my first Bushmaster ever.
Oh,
yeah.
But it would have been the very next night where a group, like we had split out. So it was a big school group, one of the universities here in the States. They go down there, they either do a Spanish immersion program or they do a biology immersion. And kind of my lead was to take down the biology students and show them, all the different wildlife and inner workings of the Amazon. So we would go down and take these groups. And so I could only take so many students. So different guides were with different groups. And this one group of students had gone out. And if you were in my group, we were going herping hard at night. It's just the way it was.
Yeah.
And we were still out on the trails. The group found an Amazon basin emerald tree boa right by the cabins and had gone to my cabin looking for me. I was still out in the forest. I came back when everybody was going to bed, had no idea until breakfast the next morning when they showed me a photo.
Oh,
I could have had
yeah, I get that too.
a Bushmaster and an emerald tree boa within 24 hours. I don't know anybody who's ever done that, but I was
that's
close.
freaking amazing, man.
Yeah, that's a story if I've ever heard one.
I was sad. That's the
And
closest.
it's not just an emerald tree boa, man. It's an Amazon basin too. I mean, like,
it would have been special, but didn't happen. So what are you gonna do?
Wow. Yeah, man, that's rough.
Yeah. So
hey, the Bushmaster, that's bad.
yeah, it was a cool one. I freaked out the group with that. I mean, I was almost crying. I was so excited. So.
I love it.
Oh man.
So I told you I was going to do it. Random question. Who's your favorite superhero and why is it not Spider-Man? It's a 2-part
What
question.
if it is Spider-Man? You don't know that.
What if it is?
I don't know until he answers me. He could just say it is. You don't know.
Man, it's funny. Superhero. Honestly, the closest thing I've ever come to of having a superhero would probably have been, and I know this is not going to fit into what you're thinking, but Steve Irwin, man. He was my superhero.
Hey, I'll give you that.
That
Real life superhero growing up. So that's it.
That day in 2006 was definitely a tearjerker for me. I was a crybaby on that day, and have been since. On a couple of occasions, watching his kids grow up and stuff. It's crazy to see the stuff that they're doing now.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, grew up on that shit. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's plenty of pictures of me herping, holding snakes out here in Eastern Virginia with my crocodile hunter shirt on. It's got a little got Steve Irwin like holding a piece of meat for a crocodile, and it's like I think it said like she has extreme jaw pressure.
Bro, I had that
something like that.
I had that same shirt.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
It's amazing how much that guy inspired people. Yeah,
absolutely.
Him and what's Jeff Corwin too?
Yeah, he's making a comeback. He's all over.
Yeah,
What's funny? Yeah, there's a lot of those personalities out there. Now it's like,
it used to be. We've sort of lost the whole hosted nature show kind of a thing. I mean, we still got David Attenborough to do his classic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that guy that just let stuff bite him? What was that?
Are you talking about the one who was on YouTube, Coyote Peterson?
Yeah, that guy.
There's a bunch of interesting.
This is the most baseball bite on the planet.
Yeah, there's a bunch of there was a handful of guys that did.
There was another guy like YouTube famous that like he let venomous snakes. Like he injected himself with venom for a long time and then let them bite him over and over and over again to build up.
That's crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's nuts.
He's still alive, so it couldn't have been
Venom Cowboys.
I saw. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna share it in a.
So,
like
hold on. You keep any venomous?
No, I do
not. No. Oh, okay.
It's I used to care for quite a bit. A while back, I was a head keeper at a facility up in northern Illinois where we had a very large collection. So I worked with a ton of them for about 6 years. But I appreciate them. I love them. I don't keep them. It's illegal where I am to keep them anyway, so I don't.
Oh, it is? Okay. That's great.
Yeah. So did you go to school for biology?
I did.
Biology stuff?
I did.
Okay. Very cool. Where'd you go? Was it up in Illinois?
Small liberal arts school up in northern Illinois called Lake Forest College.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome.
So.
Yeah. And have you just I mean, I know now your main thing is Sundown Reptiles, obviously, but did you always do stuff in that realm, or did you ever move out of it, or did you just always stay stuck with whether it be wildlife biology, conservation, eco tours, taking care of animals, obviously being a keeper somewhere? You said you had that job. Have you just always had those types of jobs?
Yes. I have done a lot of environmental consulting. I still do on occasion. Not like I used to.
Yeah.
And when I was doing the whole guiding thing, I'd spend half the year down in Ecuador, and then I'd come back and I'd take some consulting jobs that were in Texas.
Yeah.
It was mostly bird work.
Yes. I feel you on that one. I did the same thing, and I got to be honest with you, I didn't like it. But
really, oh man, it was
I mean, I had a good time being out in the field, and I loved the people I was working with. Just the bird stuff for me was not as interesting as some other stuff could have been. But
yeah, it's
I
fun.
mean,
I got into birds like via osmosis. It's my mentor in college he was an ornithologist and an entomologist. And when I went down to Ecuador for the first time to kind of get my tastes of the tropics at this biostation, everybody there was bird. They were all birders.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck, man? Like, I just want to go out. Like, I didn't have anybody to go out really herping with. And so I was kind of forced into this world of birding. And so I became an ornithostitute. I did birds for money.
Nice. Yeah.
Ornithostitute. That's nice. I like that setup. That was
yeah. The company that
birds
I worked
for,
for had sort of two main things going
Birds
on.
and
There was
dogs.
birds and bats, and
That's where the money is in consulting.
I wanted so bad to do bats, but they would not let me do it. I have my rabies pre-exposure vaccines. I was an animal control officer for 3.5 years, and they still wouldn't let me do it. They were just like, go out and listen to birds. I was like, all right.
You were just doing audio surveys.
Yeah, we were doing auditory point counts. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That can be tough.
Yeah, that's all I did.
The work I was doing
one
in
bat project, and it was like sitting up on this mountain, which was absolutely gorgeous at night, just to visually see if you found any birds coming out of tree, or not birds, bats flying out of tree roosts. Just literally just sit there and look. I did that for like 5 nights, which was really fun. I liked that part of it, but word point counts. I was mostly the guy just sitting there doing GIS on the iPad. Yeah,
so. I was doing nest searching, so that was fun.
Oh, okay, that's really cool. Yeah,
it's hunting. I mean, you're going out, and it was focused on certain species, so you get to learn them really well. And when you're down there in some of these places in Texas, you're finding herps along the way. So
yeah, I did to turn up a few along the way, which was nice.
Yeah,
some box turtles, some black rats. My first red eft, which I saw out in the field one day doing bird stuff, which was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to that.
Yeah, we're
50-minute mark.
Yeah, we're getting up there, and we might have skimmed over some things that we were thinking about.
No, we didn't skim over. I wasn't gonna forget. I would really like to hear. I mean, if you could take a few 10, 15, however many minutes you need, and just explain to us about your conservation work that you're still doing, as far as your donations and everything that goes along with that, because we would love to hear about that.
Yeah, I'm not doing actual conservation work myself right now. I have always enjoyed giving back some portion to conservation, just because that was my initial start in it, and the passion for wildlife, and kind of what ultimately led me to where I am now. And a lot of the species that we keep, these places are getting decimated. So one of the groups that I really have tried to give back to, because there's so many different organizations out there that do conservation, and one of those does quite a bit with acquiring land and conserving that land, which to me is the ultimate part of conservation. If you can conserve the ecosystem where the animals are in, that's the first step. That's the base. So Rainforest Trust is one that I've donated to over the years, and they actively acquire land all over the globe. And so, when I can, I try to go ahead and do donations to them. And so, yeah. But as far as conservation work myself, I'm not actively involved.
Sure. Yeah. So, well, I mean, at this
point,
a
donation, I would consider that actively involved.
Yeah. I mean, that's going a step further than
most.
A good bit of people probably in the hobby part of it anyway. I mean, like I said, we definitely do, US ARK, and a lot of people do US ARK, and they're extraordinarily important to what we do here in the United States.
I'll be honest, I don't think enough people do US ARK.
Conservation, that's sort of unique in what I've seen so far. I haven't seen, a plethora of people necessarily giving back to conservation. I'm sure there are more out there for sure, but yeah.
USARK is a big one too. Those are the two that when I'm doing donations. Yeah. So grateful for USARK in that respect for sure.
Oh yeah. It's a whole different set of things, but it's also just as important. I mean, you could even argue it's important as a conservation standpoint. I mean, if we can't keep the animals and we can't produce them in captivity, the demand for wild just goes up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Never losing those wild places.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So with the last little bit of time we have, I definitely want to. You talked a little bit about your Chahuas. You got some absolutely crazy things. I can't believe you have an almost entirely white Chahoua. That's insane. How long? I mean, when you got into Chahuas, what did you start out with? Like extremely high white, like white collars?
No, I did not. I mean, it was back in around 2011 when I first started getting into them. And it's kind of to see the progression of where it's gone.
Yeah.
There was white collars back then, so I was snapping up whatever white collars I could. And I had a chance to acquire a collection of someone who was getting out of the hobby, who had some really nice stuff. And that really, supercharged my collection at the time as well. So it just kind of, you guys know how it goes. Every year, the projects that you're working on, they just get better and better.
Right.
And,
so getting to those high white, those super.
That's how you get yourself in trouble too.
Just all basically line breeding.
You just want to keep everything.
Yeah, right. No, there has not been any line breeding intentionally done by, I think, a lot of the breeders who are out there to get it. I've not had to do anything with it. I've not line bred any of my animals to this point.
Okay.
Maybe at some point in the future here, there's, to isolate certain traits or looks that people want, then see. But, I do think that we're dealing with such a shallow genetic pool with these animals. It's
right.
People will buy a high white animal for me, and then they'll go ahead and buy a high white animal from, the Gilpins over at LAC. And, people think lots of times that it's like, okay, I'm going to get an animal here, I'm going to get an animal there, and get an animal here. I don't want to get two from you because I don't want them to be related.
Right.
Like the original animal,
they're still related.
Group that these animals came from.
It's so small.
It's so small. I think at some point if we're not already there, we are reaching very close. We're surely there. I feel like with a lot of the Leachianus and with the Chahoua crested geckos. Think about how many crested geckos are produced every single year, and how many founding animals there were. Everything that we're working with to some degree is related. But that being said, we can try our best to try and keep things separate. But I think that's also why we're seeing the envelope being pushed with a lot of the new Caledonian stuff. We're getting further and further away from these original animals that were, that came out of the wild.
Oh my God, yeah.
Stuff is being crossed.
You see the altitude exotics right now. You see the super cappuccinos that he's.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff out there.
That is insane. I'm like, to me, that doesn't even look like a crested gecko anymore. Like,
yeah, they're funky looking, right?
It's crazy the stuff that people's doing with genetics.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. The cresteds have been around a lot longer than the others, it seems, as far as where you see these morphs going. There's a lot more variety with cresteds, it seems. But we'll see what the future holds for the Leachies and Chahoua and Gargs. We're already seeing cool stuff out of all the groups.
Yeah, it's only going to get better.
That's true. Some of those Leachies are pretty crazy. They're really black ones, really dark ones.
Yeah, I tell you what, when I went to Tinley this year, I'd never realized that Chewies can be so pink.
Pink, red, green, orange.
I had never realized that.
White, apparently. All white in some cases. Yeah, that's insane. My mind is blown still thinking about it.
Do you have an Instagram or a face? Well, no, an Instagram with pictures.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm on both. So if anybody wants to check out, what I'm working with, you can look at it on Facebook or Instagram at Sundown Reptiles. I do have a website as well, which is sundownreptiles.com.
And there are links to all of those platforms in the description of this video.
Cool. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tinley, do you have any plans to vend something like that, maybe?
Yeah, I vend every March and October. I've been doing it for a long time.
Oh,
man,
shit, really?
We must have just like missed you this last year.
Yeah.
It was a weird show for we're not.
There's a lot of people there, dude.
by any means.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
It's so big. But yeah, I mean, so that was like I grew up an hour north of Tinley.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's the staple. I mean, I drive up there every March and October. So
Yeah, you get to go
Always.
visit family too, huh?
exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
we
what
try to go and do October every year and go check it out. So we'll definitely come and see you when we come up there for sure.
Cool.
We'll actually make sure we catch this time. This last year was a little weird. We were kind of all over the place. We did not have a good attack plan. We gotta have a better attack plan.
October is just a good time of year to be there, just because I feel like most everybody has offspring by then.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Hindsight's 2020. I totally remember you at Tinley, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just
As soon as I said it, and then I was like, wait a minute. And then he said it, and I was like, yeah, I remember the banner now. Yeah.
okay, cool.
logo.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we have met then.
We have,
Maybe.
definitely.
We're seeing each
Like,
other. Maybe not
At
met.
least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
yeah.
we'll be able to get together in North Carolina one day soon.
Yeah, holler at me
Like-
if you guys come out.
Hey, but,
Yeah.
in the near future.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I got a baby coming and all that stuff in like a week or two. I don't know, but
Anytime
Wow.
now.
Oh, you ain't going nowhere.
we'll figure it out.
I'm done. No more Tinley.
Nah, no, none of that.
Hey, dude, I'll strap my baby on the
I
back.
told him
We're
things
going
are going to
to
change, but
You know how I have like a knack.
I know you have a knack for making things work for you. Yeah. Everything you do.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that's awesome. Congratulations.
All right.
Thank you
Well,
very much.
Mhm. Yeah, it's exciting times. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's boy, girl, do you know, or surprise?
Girl.
Nice.
Yep, it's gonna be a girl.
Awesome.
So work's really cut out.
Yeah.
yeah, you don't even know, bro.
I was
you
going
guys-
into it like I could totally
It's like the world's hardest pet.
got that.
Straight up.
I could raise like
Are you a
10.
father?
I'm
Yeah,
good.
I'm a father.
Okay. Speaking of kids.
I'll be honest, man. Like the way I see it is, if you can raise a kid, you can have any type of animal you want, man. Because that's expert level right there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pose a different.
They
kind
said
of a
chameleons
challenge.
were hard.
Yeah.
Chameleons are easy. Pregnant wives are
Heck
hard.
yeah.
This is true. This is true.
Oh man. Yeah. Well,
Well,
Yeah.
all right, well, I
We're
guess
just-
we're kind of at that time, right?
What? I'm just thinking, man, we're assholes.
Oh, crap. Yeah, maybe sometimes.
Oh,
goodness.
man.
Well,
It's all
Yeah.
the time.
we've had you for nearly an hour, but I gotta be honest. I gotta ask you one more thing about you.
Yeah.
That I was thinking about. I'm sorry. I got this like it's like the impending thing for me. It's like my big thing that I'm next year. Hopefully, I'm going to try to do this. I've had my male. He's probably 2 now, and my female will be around 2 at the beginning of next year. So, how any special tips for pairing? I mean, you said they're so crazy. I mean, they've always lived in enclosures next to each other. Is that helpful?
it is, and it might not be crazy for you.
Yeah.
The amount of chaos and incidents that I've had in the collection relative to how many pairings that I've done and yearly kind of going through it with them is low. So I think you've got a good chance for success. I would say be cautious about, the size of the animal and don't just go like, I'd wait till it's at least like 2.5.
Okay.
Instead of pairing up like right when she hits 2,
Sure.
make sure she has good size. And they can be notorious for like starting to go into, a lay cycle early before you even pair them. And
Right.
if you notice her tail starts getting a little wavy, you know that she's putting eggs or has eggs. And
Okay.
they'll do that without even putting a male in there.
Right.
So there's one, that's an aspect of that species that a lot of people still are kind of dealing with as far as, they can crash pretty hard from calcium,
Yeah.
more so than any of the other Rhacodactylus complex. So that's the one thing, the tip is just lots of bugs, lots of calcium, and don't rush it with her is what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, that's great advice. I'm not really. I want to do it. I want desperately to hatch out baby Chahoas.
You will.
But I'm not in a hurry for sure. If there's anything that I've done reptiles for close to 20 years with various things, but this gecko stuff is I think it's really where I found my niche, and I've learned a lot of patience.
Mm-hmm.
Go with it, just go with the flow. Get the animals. If it's too young when you buy it, just raise the dang thing up.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be in a hurry.
Journey,
get it to the right size. Get it to the right age. And yeah, I mean that's good advice. So yeah, I'll probably wait just a little bit longer with her.
Does anybody else have the problem where they buy something and then they fall in love with it and then you're just like want to buy more?
Yeah, well, that's
absolutely not. Dude, a crack.
No, but like I mean more of the same exact thing, like just the same thing, just a lot of that one thing.
Of species, you mean?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
All right. Well,
I can't get enough. Oh, I forgot to give you your little cube when you were here earlier, Gabe.
Yes, absolutely.
Get that over to you somehow, some way, or I'm just going to leave it with him.
Little cube.
Well,
it's a little 3-gallon glass cube that I had that I was.
Out. You can come let Tito get on your ear.
You know why I gave you that cube, right, Gabe? Because it was taking up space on my shelf, and now I can put another tub in there, and I can get another gecko.
Oh, don't buy another gecko.
I'm not going to right away. My wife won't let me.
Right away.
I fix my car because I hit a deer this morning. So
you do have to.
Hey, that's actually something I've been considering getting a hog nose.
I know the guy who's gonna fix your car. He's not cheap, bro.
I know.
Hey,
I know.
All right.
Good knowing.
All right. Well, I appreciate I definitely appreciate the advice. I was more asking for. Hopefully, people who listen to this or watch it at some point will get some good, info off it if they're dealing with
selfish
Chahuas. But it's pretty selfish. I just
wanted it would be awesome to have you back.
I don't.
Once, for sure.
Yeah. Well, the point is to be, hopefully some people got something out of it. So.
Oh, wow, we did for sure. And
yeah.
I mean, everybody who comes back and we may not have a lot of people in the live right now, but they'll come back and watch it later. Hopefully, anybody who is watching, definitely check the description, and you can find links to Bryan's social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, as well as his actual website, all in there. And if you're looking for anything that he has, consider him, because he's got the best looking stuff I've seen around in a long time.
He really does.
Not to mention, you get to give back to some conservation if you buy from him. So,
I'm definitely.
Despite previous comments, I've actually seen a lot of his stuff in person, so it's really nice.
Man, I would
probably have to. I just don't. I'm just sorry, I don't remember.
I'm gonna have to get with you about some tree monitors at some point.
Yeah, let's talk.
Because that is something that I am dying to do.
For sure. They're great, man. They're you get it with your monitor. So you let me know when you're ready. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. And I look forward to seeing you in Tinley. So you're not going to be at March, Tinley?
No, we usually just do October. Yeah,
October it is.
Yeah,
October it is, man.
We don't see you before then. So, but I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, it's good chatting with you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
Just sitting here going through conversation and stuff, man, I just constantly come up with questions. That's just, I don't know, I have like a curious question brain. So we're going to keep in touch with you. We're definitely going to stay in touch and maybe work out another episode going over some very specific type things that you have a lot of experience with. So everybody stay tuned for that, because I can guarantee this man is very knowledgeable, and we definitely look forward to having you back on here. Thanks for coming to hang out with us, guys. We got Bryan Suson at Sundown Reptiles hanging out with us. Gabe's hanging out with us. Me and Nick, we're hanging out in person. That's crazy. Yep. We're all hanging out. This is Reptile Hangouts, and we'll see you guys next Friday as usual. Thank you very much.
All right, guys.